Florida State recruiting certainly not like you would want them to with a season that's going as poorly as this one is. I'm going to talk with Richie about that today in our video presented by BetUS. So hopefully you'll enjoy that more than you've enjoyed what you've seen on the trail. All right, Richie, Florida State recruiting lost one and then gained one this weekend. I didn't have, well, it was before the weekend, so I'll say that. But I didn't have power, so couldn't do really a breakdown on either one, the loss or the gain. Florida State loses a 4-star wide receiver in Dalen McCutcheon. He flips over to Texas. The second commit that Florida State has had flip from Florida State to Texas, and might not be the last one. At a position of need, they really desperately need to hold on to guys at, because it's just one of their worst position groups on the field right now. The wide receivers are not good, no offense to them. Now we got some young guys that are maybe somewhat promising, but you need to continue to stack talent there. Florida State had 3 wide receivers committed at one time, Richie, in Dalen McCutcheon, CJ Wiley, who is still committed. And I'm blanking on the third one. Who was the third one committed, Harlan? Help me out. But anyway, they had 3 wide receivers committed, all of them now gone, and have decommitted or flipped elsewhere. And it seems like, well, CJ Wiley's still here for now, saying all the right things. A pretty big indictment on Ron Dugans. We had said for a while. Yeah, we'd said for a while that Dugans had not been recruiting incredibly well. And now with, 2 decommitments gone and another one looking like it could happen at any point with CJ Wiley, hopefully they're able to continue to lock him in. Malik Clark, yeah, thank you for the assist there. Looks like he's gone. Did he flip back to South Carolina, or is he just decommitted? It looks like South Carolina is like the leader there if he didn't officially make it back to their class. But anyway, all of the early momentum you had in recruiting, especially at the wide receiver position, looks like it's about gone. They're having to circle back on kids committed elsewhere like UCF and stuff. So yeah, they're, kind of backup plan to backup plans at this point. The indictment on Ron Dugans, and, what's frustrating, again, not to fire everybody here. Richie said he didn't want to fire people because he felt bad, or, I don't feel bad at all. If you don't do your job well, you don't get to keep your job. But, Mike tried to move on from Dugans in 2021, right? And then couldn't do it. Like, could not hire from a position of strength, and so could not upgrade from Dugans, which is fine. He tried to go get the, the guy from Penn State, right, Sider. And that just didn't work out. Couldn't get him because Mike was on the hot seat going into 2022. And then still, for whatever reason, Mike didn't feel the need to go upgrade there. And look what it's about to cost you. I know that everybody thought like, oh, well, Dugans, got you Hakeem Williams, and the ROI on that's been pretty terrible. And I like Hakeem. I hope he turns out to be really, really good and a first-round draft pick. I just don't know if that's going to happen. But yeah, like Dugans didn't all of a sudden turn into a great recruiter. I think you won a big NIL battle to get Hakeem, and that's pretty much where you are right now. You didn't upgrade there, and it's probably going to cost you a wide receiver in this round. And the wide receivers at Florida State just are not good enough right now, and It doesn't look like the class is going to get much better. I'll get right back to chatting with Richie about FSU recruiting, but first, I do want to tell you about our friends over at BetUS. We've told you about them all year, and whether you're betting on Monday Night Football, the NFL, college football, whatever you want, table tennis at 4 a.m., BetUS has you covered. 150% sign-up bonus when you use the code YouTube150. That's on your first deposit. Your next 2 deposits have a 125% deposit bonus up to $2,000. Now, if you put more on the first one, you get the larger bonus. So go check out BetUS now. Their customer service is great. Their lines have been phenomenal this year. Go check out our friends over at BetUS. We appreciate them so much for their support.
Yeah, it's frustrating. I think taking a gamble on Johnny Wilson and him working out really gave Dugans another year. And then, striking gold with Keon Coleman, even though he wasn't really healthy after that LSU game, getting him, that gave Dugans another year. But where's the point? We've talked about this. There's multiple coaches that need to move on, or Mike needs to move on from. Ron Dugans might be at the top of the list, him and Randy Shannon. I'm naming names. I don't care at this point. FSU can listen in and get upset with us. Just blame it on me, TJ. But, yeah, it's unacceptable. When you're at Florida State, the state of Florida doesn't always have the best guys in the trenches. They always have elite skill players. Look at what Jeremiah Smith is doing at Ohio State right now. You were in it for him. You just could not close with him. And instead, you're running out what we're running out every Saturday and what will be this Friday night. And it's just embarrassing, DJ, he deserves plenty of blame, but he's got no help from, his receivers or tight ends or anyone. And now we're losing our best recruits, which aren't even, it's not even like we're losing top elite 5-star talent guys. We're losing good players. Don't get me wrong. I'm like, if you go to Texas right now, you're pretty dang good, but we're not losing super elite players right now. And we don't really have any backups. And that's been the problem with the staff and recruiting since they've been here. And that goes on Mike is, when something goes south, your backup plan isn't someone else that's really good. Your backup plan is, let me try and poach someone from UCF or, Northwestern or whatever it may be. And that's an issue in my opinion. And it's not been corrected in 5 years. And that's another frustrating part. And when you talk about, how long is Mike going to be here? Well, if this continues, not long.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, if you don't bring talent in, whether that's through the portal or high school, this is kind of what you get. So the good side of that, the positive side of recruiting is that Florida State did get a kind of a flip, like kid decommitted from Mississippi State and ended up picking Florida State. Mario Nash, again, didn't do a video on this, just mostly because we didn't have power for a few days in Tampa. But 2025 Class O lineman, tackle maybe, probably going to end up being a guard because we take 4 billion guards at Florida State and then never develop any of them. But 6'4", 270 pounds, out of DeKalb, Mississippi. 4-star everywhere, a little lower ranked on 3, which I actually like on 3's rankings a little bit better for most guys. And so it kind of worries me that they're lower on him than everyone else is, but I'm not going to poo-poo the commit. I'm glad that Mario Nash picked the Seminoles. He's the number 36th ranked tackle on 3's website. He's top 10 on both ESPN and Rivals, which I think are mostly trash. And then he's number 14 on 247, which is probably a little bit better. To come out with an on-3 industry grade of the number 22 offensive tackle overall. So a good pickup for the Noles, a kid that's going to have to be developed. I mean, he's certainly not going to come in here and play game 1 of against Alabama. I certainly hope he doesn't by any means. Florida State, Richie, right now on offensive line, listen to the talent that they have kind of in that room if they can keep some of these guys committed. Lucas Simmons, who didn't play at all last year, hasn't gotten in all this year, was injured last year, so we'll give him a little bit of a pass. Lucas Simmons, Andre Otto, who has gotten in and played a little bit. ITT was a commit that you picked up. Jonathan Daniels was a very highly rated commit that you got last year. Solomon Thomas is one of the best tackles in the country that you have committed right now. We'll see if they can hold on to him. Nash just committed, and Peyton Joseph, who is another 4-star. That is all blue chip recruits, minus Andre Otto, who has played for you more than anyone else on that list so far. Now, obviously, he's a little bit older and didn't spend last year injured like Lucas Simmons did. There's a lot of potential and a lot of talent in that room. And we're just calling a spade at this point. I don't really have a lot of qualms with FSU's O-line recruiting. I think that's actually been pretty good. It's been a bright spot in recruiting for the Noles. What I probably have a big problem with is the development. Where are guys like Armella? Where are guys like Simmons? Where are guys that have been in this program for multiple years? Why aren't they seeing the field? Why aren't they playing? Offensive line is a little bit of a crapshoot. You throw numbers at that problem and you see how many guys you can get in and you see how many guys end up working out for you. So far, Florida State has not done a very good job of developing offensive linemen. I don't believe that they have had an offensive lineman drafted since this staff has been in place. That is 4 drafts that have happened. It would surprise me if they had anyone drafted in this 2025 draft that's coming in April. That's pretty bad, right? The offensive line did go from very bad to like mediocre back to like below average, I think, this year. In the 2021, 22 years, they got a little bit better. 23 was a little bit better. 24 has been pretty terrible. And there's been injuries. I get it. Yeah, bad, but everybody deals with injuries. Ohio State had their top tackle go down the other night, and they still kept running the ball because they had recruited and developed well there. And so Florida State adds Nash to the class. They've got a lot of talent in that room. Can that talent be developed? Can Atkins kind of turn things around there? I don't know. I don't know what his prospects are right now with the show cause and everything else that he's got going on for Mike letting him go. I don't know that Mike's going to make changes at both coordinator positions, though I think he probably should. But there is a lot of talent there, and they continue to stack talent in that room. They just haven't been able to seem to do anything with the talent.
Yeah, it's frustrating because, that was the biggest thing with Rick Trickett when he was here under Jimbo Fisher is, you signed nothing but 3 stars on the offensive line, really, because no elite players wanted to go play for Rick Trickett. And that was one of the biggest frustrations, again, with Jimbo Fisher, is that, he knew this was happening and he just continued to employ Rick Trickett, who is a very good coach from everything I heard and people I spoke with, but nobody wanted to play for him. Rodney Hudson was, one of one, who came in he was committed to Rick Trickett at West Virginia. When, Rick Trickett took the job at Florida State, he immediately flipped to Florida State. Cam Irving, one of Florida State's best offensive linemen of the past decade, wasn't even recruited as an offensive lineman. He was a defensive lineman. And Jimbo, his best skill ever as a coach, in my opinion, was understanding where a player needs to play. He's like, no, you're an offensive lineman. You're not a defensive lineman. And that worked out really well. Well, now we have Alex Atkins, and it's another difficult conversation where you're not a play calling offensive coordinator. Your main focus is the offensive line. We have quite literally the worst rushing attack in the country. The stats.
Hey, Kent State.
No, Kent State passed us. Kent State passed us yesterday.
We got passed on our day off.
They ran for 67 yards and passed us. Like it's that bad. I don't know. Alex Atkins, I think he needs to go too. Like, I hate just calling out coaches at midseason because, it's just an unfortunate situation. But like, what are you doing? And to your point, TJ, developmental wise, like we have a worse rushing attack than Kent State. That's where we are. And it's not because we don't have good running backs. I mean, we have okay running backs. I think Tuafili is a really good guy. I think Keziah Holmes is a good running back. But the offensive line, just whatever, it's not working, or it's not working with Mike. And that's up to Mike to make those decisions and say, listen, I think you're a good coach. I'm going to give you a good reference, but it's not working out here. So we need to move on. There's a good way to do that. As someone who's had to let people go before, it sucks, but you always shake their hands and say, hey, if you need me, let me know. Now, yeah, the really, really crappy ones, you just get rid of. I don't think Atkins is that guy. I think Atkins has a really bright future in college football. But man, it's just so frustrating. And the recruiting to recruit so well at that position. TJ, you and I, we started a fund to buy Atkins a box of cigars. Like, we've been supporters of him. I just don't see it anymore. And I'm ready to move on from there as well. And anywhere else we need to.
Yeah, it's tough. I like Alex personally a lot, but just the development there hasn't been very good. And you could say unlucky, but everybody's unlucky. Like you have things that go your way and don't go your way. So what I think is tough is, again, with the show, I think Mike's too loyal. And I think with the show cause, I don't know if he will make any changes. And I think that double bad hurts you. Like that hurts you on two fronts. One, because I think you need somebody that can develop offensive line a little bit better than has been done. I also think Mike needs an offensive coordinator that can call plays and take that off of his plate. And so, you can't demote Alex to just offensive line because you'd be paying him way too much to do so. So I don't think you can afford to bring in an OC to be paying another OC the right amount of money, and then you pay an Atkins an OC salary to just be a line coach, which hasn't been very good at that. And then at the same time, I don't think Mike's going to fire him with a show cause. Now, I think another place could hire him even with the show cause. That's kind of on the NCAA to determine. I think you can get around it in some places, but I think because of that, Mike's going to be loyal and not let him go. That's my take. Maybe I'm wrong on that later. Maybe Atkins turns it around. Maybe we start playing well after the bye week. Maybe next year the offensive line is the best in the ACC. Not going to bet on that, but my take is on it that I just don't know that anything's going to change. You can't hire another OC and have Atkins making more than that guy. No. Just doing O-line. So I don't know. I struggle to think that things will improve there. I'd love to be wrong on that. So what are your thoughts? Do you have expectations for Florida State recruiting this year? Obviously it's going to be a pretty heavy portal year again next year. Let's talk about it down in the comments. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Love to interact with you some on this one. Let me know down below. Again, appreciate you guys for tuning in. Appreciate BetUS for their support. We will talk to you guys soon. Go Noles.